Welcome to another video. I am the Starman, and in this video I just wanted to show you something that I bought at a car boot sale recently. I don't know if you're like me, but I like to look around car boot sales for stuff, old cameras, all that sort of thing, and in particular astronomy stuff as well. It's very rare that you find astronomy stuff like telescopes and things like that, and most of the time when you do, they're a pile of rubbish. I mean, I've seen some people trying to sell old telescopes and the rubbish are on wobbly mounts and there's bits broken off them and all that sort of thing. Well, I was at a car boot sale recently, not far away from Blackpool where I live, and I found this thing here. And this is a very small tabletop mounted telescope. It's a reflecting style telescope, which means it has a mirror in it. And when I saw it, it actually came in this box here. It is a Celestron Signature Series Moon by Robert Reeves. Now, Robert Reeves apparently is a astrophotographer from USA, Texas. I think he is famous for photographing the moon. I've never heard of him myself, but there's quite a few of these telescopes that do have names on the scope. So it might have Galileo on it, it might have Isaac Newton, all that sort of thing. And they're all sort of to celebrate famous scientists and that sort of thing, you know. So in fact, this telescope here is only about £60 or so to buy new. Now, when I saw it, it was advertised, they had a £10 price tag on it, and I sort of caught my eye, and I thought, I looked at it, and I looked round it, and it looked as though it had never been used. I looked at the mirror. Can you see that mirror there? That mirror looks beautiful. It's only a small mirror, about 75 millimeters size mirror. And then I thought, you know what, it's probably worth it, but I got them down to £7. So like I say, it's not an expensive telescope to buy, and I will put a link in the description at the bottom if you're interested in buying something like this yourself. So like I say, it's a reflecting telescope. And there was another thing as well, it didn't come with any eyepieces. The eyepieces you put in here, I'll just show you. Now, luckily for me, I do have eyepieces, so that wasn't a big deal. And the eyepieces that you get with this telescope were probably not that great anyway. So this is an eyepiece here. This is a 20mm eyepiece, which I have already. And that just goes in there. And then you're away then. You can start looking at things. Now, as you can see by the design on the scope and the name on the box, it does say moon. So it is sort of marketed as a moon telescope just for looking at the moon, but you can look at I'm sure that you could look at the planets with it, like Jupiter and maybe Saturn at a push. I would say you'd be able to look with this, and things like the Orion Nebula, the Pleiades, double cluster. There's lots of things in the night sky, certainly in the winter night sky, that we can look at with a telescope just like this, a miniature telescope. And like I say, it's a tabletop mounted telescope as well. As you can see, very easy to use. You basically just move it up and down, you look for something in the sky, and you'll find it no problem. But I would say that you don't really want to use it indoors. You don't want to be plonking it on the table inside and looking through your window or anything like that. You want to be outside, and that's all to do with the atmosphere. You know, if you try to look through something from your house through the window, you've got heat and all that sort of thing, not to mention that you're looking through a window as well. So you want to be outside using this and have it on a table in your garden or something like that, like I've got it on here. Anyway, so let's take a closer look at the telescope and I'll show you how it works. Okay, so let's take a closer look at this telescope. Now, it's a 300mm focal length, and the aperture, the size of the mirror, is about 75mm roughly. I think it's 74 or something like that, not sure, but we'll call it 75 just to round it up. Now 75 goes into 300 4 times, so that means that the aperture of this telescope is f4. It's fairly fast, which means it lets a fair amount of light in there at a very short focal length of just 1 foot in old money. So it normally comes with a 20mm and a 4mm eyepiece, and like I said, the eyepieces you get with this telescope are probably not going to be that great, so you're better off using better quality eyepieces like what I've got here. So I've got this 20mm eyepiece here, and that would be pretty much the widest one that you would use, and this is the sort of eyepiece that would give you the widest field of view, and it's also useful for finding things as well. If you use a wide eyepiece like a 20mm, the higher the number, the higher the millimetre, the wider, the less powerful the eyepiece is. So the way that we would gauge how powerful the 20mm eyepiece is on this telescope is we divide the focal length, which is 300mm, by 20 of the eyepiece, and that gives us, that goes into 300 15 times. So that means it's 15 times power using this eyepiece. Now it would normally come with a 4mm eyepiece, which gives about 75 times power, which is quite a lot actually. Now I don't have a 4mm eyepiece, but I do have this 9mm. If I round this off to 10 goes into 300 30 times, so roughly this is going to give you a 30 times power using this eyepiece here, 9mm. We'll call it a 10mm for sake of argument, just to make it a bit easier. Anyway, I'm just going to stick this eyepiece in here now. So it just goes in there like that, and I must say that this is one of the cheaper, where you notice it's a little bit cheap. The control, this is a focus thing here, this is where you focus, so you'd kind of point it at something like the moon or whatever you want to focus on, and then you'd use these dials here, and can you see it going up and down there? That's how you would focus on whatever you want to focus on. It does feel a little bit cheap around here, to be quite honest, but you can't have everything, can you? And you can just basically move it around and move it up and down, and that's all you have to do to find something. And I do recommend using a wide eyepiece to find something, and then if you want to go in further, once you've found the object and got it centre, you can then put a more powerful eyepiece in, like this one here. Then you can get in closer to what you want to look at. Now there is something else I want to show you as well, something else that it came with. It also came, well, I'll just show you the instructions there. They came with instructions as well, not that I really need the instructions. It also came with a warning not to look at the sun with it, which is very important. And I could kind of tell it had never been used because this warning sign was still stuck to it. But I want to show you this thing here. This is a moon filter. Can you see that there? Now, a moon filter is very similar to, it's sort of like a neutral density filter, and they're generally like a yellowish green. And what they do is they take the brightness off the moon, because the moon is very, very bright. Have you ever looked at the full moon through a telescope or binoculars? It's blinding. So this moon filter here, which comes with this telescope, what you do is you take the eyepiece, so there's the eyepiece, so any eyepiece, and you screw that into the eyepiece. So there you are, there's the moon. The moon filter is now on the eyepiece, and you put that in there, just like that. Tighten these things up here, and now you can look at the moon and it won't blind you. So there you go, this is the Celestron First Scope Signature Series Tabletop Miniature Reflecting Telescope. And like I say, it's not expensive to buy. Some parts of it, as you can see, are a little bit cheap. I mean, particularly if you were to buy it and you have the eyepieces that come with it, I would recommend using better quality eyepieces. But I think this would be a very good first scope for somebody. Not very powerful, but certainly something that's very easy to use and very easy to get started looking at the moon and looking at the brighter planets like Jupiter and Saturn. I'll put a link to it in the description, or something very similar to this in the description. So there you go. I hope this video has been useful to you, and maybe you might be interested in something like this yourself. Anyway, if you like the video, hit the like button, and also hit subscribe and tick the bell for notifications of new videos, and I will see you again next time.